Hello, hello, hello! My name is Artemis_anime, and today I am reading A Robin's Nest by SilvermistAnimeLover. Chapter 2, UA Exam. Summary. Izuku takes the UA entrance exam while Aizawa tries to figure out which applicant is the vigilante, Robin. Since you all loved the first chapter, I decided to upload this next chapter for you! For now, I'll try to update this story on Wednesdays, but I cannot make any promises. For my Swan Dive readers, I try to do updates on Friday. Again, I cannot make promises, but I'll try. Chapter 2, UA Exam. The next day dawned bright and warm, much to Robin's chagrin. He tried to turn in early the night before, but he kept running into trouble. First that mugging, then that gang, and then a frickin' bank robbery at 3 in the goddamn morning. Who robs the bank at 3 a.m.? All in all, he hadn't got back home until well past 4, and he had to catch his train at 7:15 to make it to the entrance exams on time. He rubbed at his bright green eyes, darkening the circles that had long since become a permanent fixture of his visage. He double-checked that he had everything, his gaze lingering on his ID. His civilian name still felt strange to him after all these years. For over half a decade, he'd gone by Richard Grayson, so it was only recently that he'd started getting used to seeing the name Midoriya Izuku as his own again. Great. As if 2 identities weren't enough for one kid, toss in a third and time travel, and this is the bullshit you got. Oh, if Bruce could hear his foul-mouthed brain, he'd have a mouthful of soap for sure. And heaven forbid Alfred ever heard those words cross his tongue. His heart twinged at the thought of his family. Gone. Dead. He was shaken from his thoughts as the train pulled into a stop. He almost didn't realize it was his stop until it was too late. With a sigh of relief, because it was amusing to watch Eraserhead eat his own scarf as it would be, he didn't want to stay a vigilante forever. He made his way over to UA. Wow. Impressive. He whistled, holding his backpack a tad firmer. He nearly tripped on an exposed brick in the path. Who was in charge of the maintenance around here? But managed a smooth recovery before noticing the girl with her hand outstretched towards him. Oh, sorry, I noticed you were about to trip and was going to catch you. She snatched her hand back nervously. Okay. Thanks for the almost save then. How was he supposed to respond to that? The only people his age he talked to were Barbara and Wally. Are you nervous? I'm nervous. We should probably get going. Good luck! She then sped off, with obviously as much of a scatterbrain as Izuku used to be. I think she and I would have gotten along well. He shook his head and went inside. The only seat open was next to Bakugo Katsuki, his old childhood friend and current bully/tormentor. Of course, he could totally kick Bakugo's butt, but he had a secret identity to keep. And Midoriya Izuku wasn't a strong athletic type. Not yet, anyways. He'd been keeping everything under wraps until today. Nobody would expect a quirkless kid passing the UA entrance hero exams? Unheard of. Preposterous. And totally his style. He smirked as Present Mike stepped up onto stage. He resisted the urge to geek out. Yes, he was still a fanboy. Sue him. He listened to the rules. Robots. Totally his style. He was feeling the Aster today, and he was immensely glad that he'd gotten several pieces of equipment approved for the exam. Like his grappling hook and staff, and shockingly enough, his cell phone, which, as it turned out, was allowed anyways. He was totally going to win this. Izuku wondered why he was the only person in the auditorium who kept responding to President Mike's calls. The man had grinned excitedly every time Izuku shouted out. He honestly kind of felt bad for the man. As a performer himself, he understood how hard it could be to work with an unresponsive crowd. Though he got several glares for his antics, Izuku really couldn't give two shits. I am loving your energy, listener. I've got my eye on you. President Mike grinned, and Izuku couldn't help his own grin. Several people near him muttered in surprise, even as the blue-eyed guy stood up and openly called out Izuku on being disruptive. Again, he didn't humor the guy with a response. Izuku really didn't give a damn. though this violet was uncomfortably hot. I mean, if you want to give me the stage, I know a couple of magic tricks, but I really don't think that's why we're here today. Izuku shot back at the startled boy. Look, I'm here for the same reason as you, to become a hero. Just because you don't like my style, doesn't mean I'm not serious. Izuku grinned before gesturing to Present Mike, who had a very well-hidden smirk of amusement on his face. Take it away, Present Mike, Izuku stated in his best entertainer voice, to which the man laughed. Of course, he grinned. Talk to me after the exams. I think I want you to be a guest on my radio show. You've got the perfect presence for it. You've got it! Izuku's grin was matched only by the heroes. He didn't miss the way half the auditorium glared to death at him, but he didn't mind. He may have made a ton of enemies, but he'd certainly caught the attention of heroes. And in a competition like this, that was what mattered. 20 minutes later, they were standing in front of the big gates in the testing area. And holy shit! How big is this school? He was starting to think that Bruce's fortune found its way to Japan. Go! The moment he heard it, he reacted, dashing through the gates with the speed of the devil. His staff was extended, and it wasn't long before he came across the three-pointer. With a wicked smirk, he easily incapacitated it. It was nothing compared to some of the villains he dealt with. He then started racking up points. 20, 32, 57. He was having a blast! Until it showed up. The ground rumbled, and his expression grew immediately serious. His eyes widened when he saw the pointer bot. That's insane! Maybe it was to test their reflexes and logic under pressure. He was about to monitor and help the others escape when his ears picked up a familiar sound. A cry for help. Before he'd fully registered it, he was running towards the cry, mind racing a million miles a second. His staff wasn't going to take down that, and that much he knew. The girl was trapped in the rubble. With that rate, the zero-pointer was moving. It would take too long to get her out of there and escape. He grit his teeth. Only one option then. It was risky, but he'd literally defused bombs before. This, he reminded himself, was still a, hopefully, controlled environment. With no further thought, he used his grappling hook to launch himself up to the head of the robot. Where is it? He pried off the panel before finding what was looking for. The robot was far too complex to simply snip a few wires and deactivate, but that wasn't what he was after. He pulled out his cell phone, his best and most versatile weapon, and connected the wires he needed. He then got to something he was best at: hacking. In the observation room, Aizawa Shota was carefully watching this year's batch of applicants. Robin was out there, somewhere, and he just had to figure out where. His eyes roamed over the monitors. He had a handful of applicants in mind. It would have been someone who didn't show any obvious quirks, as the kid he was looking for didn't have one. It wasn't that the kicker. One of the most sought-after and notorious vigilantes in Japan was quirkless, and a 14-year-old kid. There were 4 minutes into the practical, and Shota was fairly certain he knew which applicant it was. That one kid with the green hair. His movements were too practiced, too smooth, and flowed too well. The way he leapt from roof to roof, he was sure of it before he even fired off his grappling hook. Who's that kid? Shota pointed him out to Nezu. Oh, you're taking an interest in an applicant. How unlike you, Aizawa, Nezu grinned. Let's see. Midoriya Izuku, 14 years old, quirkless. Quirkless? Midnight echoed. And he's fighting that? Well, what's he up to point-wise? Last I counted, he was at 51, Cemento spoke up, sounding impressed despite himself. Darn, that's impressive. Snipe sounded like he was smirking. Let's see how they react to this. And then Nezu pressed the big red button, releasing the 0 pointers. Shota really shouldn't have expected anything less, but he'd hoped the kid would have had the common sense to run away from the giant killer robot, not towards it. Look, there's another kid trapped. Ectoplasm pointed to the screen. So that's why he's running towards it, 13 mused. Heroic indeed, but there's only so much without power one can do. All Might shook his head, causing Shota's ire to spike. Just watch. I have a feeling the kid's gonna do something impressive. Oh? You sound like you've met him before, Nezu smirked. If this kid passes, I want him in my class. Hell, I want him as my apprentice. Shota's words stilled the room. Only 3 times had he ever requested someone in his class, and never had he wanted to take some student on as his apprentice. Why on earth? Midnight stared at her friend. He gave me a challenge to find him, to guess who he was. He gave me one glaring hint. Tell me, Nezu, is there any other quirkless applicant in the hero's exam today? They watched as the boy grappled up to the robot's head and pried off a panel. No, just him. Nezu's eyes gleamed as Midoriya pulled out his cell phone of all things and connected some wires to the device. He then started messing with his phone, a thin line of strat trickling down his brow. There were less than 10 seconds of the exam left, and less than 6 until that robot reached the girl. Hisashi was on standby to get her out of there if need be. Then I'm sure of it. That's him all right. Shota grinned madly as the robot suddenly died. It shuddered to a stop before backing up and away from the girl. Did he just hack into that robot with a cell phone? Snipe gasped in awe. Indeed he did. Nezu's grin became manic as Shota's. Time! The exam is over! Hisashi's voice cried out over the testing sites. Midoriya Izuku is the vigilante Robin. And that was Chapter 2, UA Exam, of A Robin's Nest by SilvermistAnimeLover. And that was Chapter 2 of Robin's Nest by SilvermistAnimeLover. You guys should go ahead and check out their profile on Archive of Our Own, which I do have linked down in the description. You should go ahead and check out both A Robin's Nest, give them some kudos, go ahead and give them some comments. You should also go ahead and perhaps, if you want to, go ahead and read some of their other works. They are all such a delight. SilvermistAnimeLover really has a way with words. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye!